Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Last day, one of my friends who works for a recruiting firm called me and said he got a requirement from his client to share profiles of MinStack developers. He wasn't sure what is that technology is all about, so and we were having a discussion on that, what exactly is MinStack and what are the technologies involved in that. So then I thought making a video on this would be helpful for others as well. So if you're working on a web technology related stuff, and if you aren't aware of what is MERN or MEVN stack, then this video is for you. Let's get into the details of this video. So basically, MEVN stack or MERN stack or MEVN stack is nothing but a set of technologies which are involved and using which you can develop end-to-end functionality of an application, mainly web application. Okay. So let's see what are the technologies involved in that MEVN stack. So MEVN is nothing but MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, and Node.js application. Sorry. Um, Now you might be aware of that, right? When I tell each and every technology, then that sounds very familiar, right? So combination of these four technologies is called MEVN stack. Okay. So let's try to understand where exactly we use these four technologies inside the application or end-to-end life cycle of the application. Now let's take a scenario. Right? Let's assume that we have an application and it has some interaction with the database. It fetches some data and displays it on the browser. Right? So normally, if you consider any application, this kind of application, then what happens is that whenever user requests something on the browser, so that request is sent to the server. Server does some processing on the request, and if in case it needs to interact with the database, then it connect with the database, bring the data, and sends back the response in the form of JSON or any UI HTML format, right? And that response will be rendered on the browser. This is a normal scenario. What happens whenever you speak about any web application, right? So this might be familiar. Now in this scenario, we'll try to understand where this MEVN stack fits, right? Okay. So now if you see this one, so MEVN stack, as I already told, means nothing but a Mongo, Express, Node, and Angular, right? Okay. So now let's try to understand each and every technology and what exactly that serves the purpose in this end-to-end life cycle. Okay. First, let's talk about MongoDB. So MongoDB is nothing but a database, which is a NoSQL database. Basically, any database is used to store the information, and similarly, MongoDB is also used to store the data, which will help in retrieving or saving the data for the application, right? So MongoDB is a NoSQL database, which is also called as document DB. So if you are aware of a SQL database, which has tables and rows and columns, so when compared SQL with NoSQL database, then in SQL you'll be having a tables, and each table will have multiple columns, and then the data will be in the form of rows, right? So in the same way, NoSQL will not have any tables. So all the data will be stored in the form of a JSON. Normally we will call it as collections and documents. So each table in SQL can be considered as collection in NoSQL, and each column in the each row in a SQL can be considered as a document in a NoSQL database, right? Hope that is clear. So, in this scenario, we already spoke about MongoDB. Now, let's see what is Node.js, what is Express.js. So, Node.js or Express.js. So, Node.js is nothing but a JavaScript runtime environment that allows you to run JavaScript on the server, right? So, previously, whenever you want to use a JavaScript, you will be using it on a browser that for working on DOM manipulation and all, right? So with the Node.js, you can write a logic that runs on the server. It can interact with the file system and all. Let's speak to this scenario of mean stack. So using Node.js, you will be writing a server logic wherein the user request will be taken by the Node.js, and then it will interact with the MongoDB database, bring back the data and send back the data to the browser. Okay. So this is the purpose of Node.js in the mean stack when we are discussing about this application. Okay. Next, Express.js, right? So if when I say that Node.js is for running the application on the server side and then processing the request, then what exactly Express.js does? Right? Now, if you take a scenario using Node.js, let's say that you have developed an API. So that API will be having multiple endpoints. So when our user requests something, then it has to pass through one of the route, right? So implementing the route and handling the routing mechanism will be difficult. I mean, it can be done in Node.js, but the amount of code that you need to write to implement that functionality will be more. So in order to reduce the complexity, or in order to save the time, Express.js will be handy. So Express.js will come up. Express.js is also built on an Node.js framework, and you can use this for routing. So once you import the Express.js into the Node application, then you can easily implement the routing mechanisms. And apart from this routing mechanism, Express.js can be used for implementing other middlewares and other complex related error logging or any other complicated related stuff, right? So you can use Express.js for other things as well. But in general, Node.js and Express.js are used for implementing a API and routing mechanism for that API. Okay. So these all are about MongoDB, Node.js, and Express.js. Now comes the front end, which is nothing but Angular. Right? You might be already aware of Angular. Angular is an open source JavaScript framework which helps in building single page applications. So apart from Angular, there are React, Vue, and other JavaScript frameworks which help in creating UI related stuff. So front end applications which we call. So you can use these technologies to implement the front end of the application, right? So combination of these four technologies is called MEVN. In case if you are using React in place of Angular as a front end technology, then that's called as MERN stack. So wherein Mongo, Express.js, React, and Node.js comes into picture. And similarly, if you are using Vue.js, then we'll call it as MEVN stack. Okay, friends. Hope this is informative. If this video is helpful, then hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.